What's going on, everybody? We are back working on the Miata yet again. We are making some modifications to the roll bar and the seating position today. Now, sometime early last year, I relocated or moved the seating position a little bit, trying to get myself farther back and lower down inside the car so that my helmet wasn't quite so flush to the top of the roll bar. Today we're moving it again because right now it is jammed right up tight to the roll bar, and it's actually putting a little bit of a twist on the left shoulder. It's pushing it forward, which makes it a little uncomfortable to drive. In drifting, seating position is very important. You need it to be square with the steering wheel, and it needs to be able to hold you in position to where you can use your handbrake, shift, and steer with ease, and you have to be as comfortable as possible. Now, when we look where I'm talking about, it's right up here. So it's actually pushing the left side of the seat forward, so it's kind of twisted at an angle and it's not very comfortable. Now, what we're gonna try and do today is relocate the seat just a little bit, but before we even do that, we're gonna actually take the roll bar completely out and do a little bit of modification to where the mounting points are so that we can scoot it back a little bit and create a little bit more room for the seat to tilt backwards, because right now I'm in a very upright position and it's not super comfortable. Now, when I look at what we can do or how far we can move the roll bar backwards, I can fit almost my whole hand up on top of the roll bar, so it could potentially go up, but I don't think we need to go up, we need to go back with it. And behind there, when I can move my fingers back and forth, I would say there's at least 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch of movement towards the back. It's gonna be really hard to show you guys inside there because it's kind of dark and really awkward to get in there, but there's a lot of room in here that we can move this backwards towards the hardtop. Now, moving the seat and the roll bar isn't just for my own comfort, it is for passengers as well, and for a modification that we're going to be doing in a later video that has something to do with this large 60-pound box, custom-made box, and it says heavy on there. It has something in there that's going to be added to the roll bar to make it just a little bit more safe when riding in the vehicle. Now, I'll get to that box a little later in the video. We'll probably crack that open and I'll give you guys a little hint at that time of what we're gonna be doing in the future. But for now, we're gonna focus on moving the roll bar and the seating position to make room for what we're gonna do with that box. Now, before we can get the roll bar out of the vehicle, I have to remove the rear carpet out of here. I reinstalled that after some of the weight reduction videos because some dust was blowing in from the backside, and we don't want that. We don't want a bunch of debris flying over and around our face when we're drifting. That's a distraction, not safe. So what we're gonna do first, we're gonna pull out both of these seats. The passenger side is much easier to get out. It's just the 4 bolts. For the driver's side, I have the seat mount welded to the base plate, so I have to get the bolts removed from the side of the seat to get that out. Then I can access the 4 bolts that bolted into the chassis. We're gonna get both seats out, then get the harnesses out of the way as well, get the fire extinguisher out, and make sure everything that way is out of the way. Now, I have a couple of ideas on how to move this back a little bit. There's some room on the front mounts to be able to cut them off and utilize the front bolt holes so we don't have to change anything there, and just slide it back and re-weld it in position. Now, for the back side, however, I might have to cut a plate and weld it to the chassis to plug the previous holes, because we're gonna be creating new holes probably a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch farther back, and we don't wanna weaken the chassis where the roll bar mounts. So we might need to add some more material back in there. We'll see when we get there and if we actually have to do that or not. So we're gonna get to work on this. We're gonna get as much out of here as we can so that we can start working on the roll bar. Now, when you look at where the roll bar has to be moved, it has to go back about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. And we won't be able to do that because there's this giant chunk of metal basically sitting right in the way. Now, these few mounting points right here is where the soft top shell would mount up. along with all the bolts that are inside the back that holds in the carpet. Now, I don't foresee myself ever really putting the soft top back in, but if I ever want to in the future, I don't really want to cut out the mounting points right here, which would mean we'll basically want to cut right behind that all the way down, and we're going to try and cut this entire piece off right here and maybe even a little bit more here. So last year during the weight reduction videos, I basically cut this whole thing out with the intentions for easier access to the top of the coilover and the roll bar mounts. So I basically wanted to open it up so it's easy to service everything. Same with over there. However, I did leave a little bit of material in there only because it kind of protects where the fuel cell or fuel tank fill tube is. But we might actually cut this off this time and kind of cut back and around there. We'll probably leave the back here so that it leaves a little bit of rigidity to the top of the trunk lid, so then it's all kind of held together. But everything on the outside, on both sides, we're gonna get as much out of there as we can to be able to allow the roll bar to move back how we want. Now the driver's seat is a little more tricky and time consuming to get out, so we'll just kind of skip that part. And there we go, both seats are out. Now we got a little bit of cleaning to do. There's a bunch of rubber dust and debris in here from last season. We got it all vacuumed out. It's really dusty and nasty in here. Just want to make sure it's all clean before we're starting to get into any grinding and cutting in here, so stuff's not blowing all over the place. So what we're gonna look at first will be these front tabs that mount onto like the firewall thing right here. It's gonna be a little tricky to kind of tell, but there's a ledge here where this isn't actually like corner to corner out here. I wanna make it to where this corner of this plate lines up with the outside corner of the plate going this direction. That will actually move it back about 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch. By moving it that 1/2 inch or 5/8 inch back, that should get it pretty close to where the hardtop is on the back side of the roll bar, and it will give me just a little bit more wiggle room to be able to tilt the seat back. Because it's a non-reclining seat, you have to move it via bolt holes in the side mount brackets. So now I'm gonna be able to tilt it backwards just a little bit, because right now I'm in an uncomfortable upright position for driving, and you don't want that. You wanna be as comfortable as you can. So we're gonna mark a few things out real quick. In order to move this back that far, which it could maybe move that far back up here, but back here, there's like an L shape. It's hitting this bracket where the like OEM seatbelt reel would sit. So we actually have to cut this little notch out in here, and we're probably gonna cut out a lot of this box because it's not being used for anything. We are going to keep this section where these bolts and nuts are. We're basically gonna cut right behind that, straight down in here, out and around, and basically just cut and remove this whole box. It doesn't need to be there. So basically, long story short, we got to pull the roll bar out, cut off those front tabs, cut off a bunch of extra material that doesn't need to be in there, and then we'll retest fit it in there and get it hopefully scooted back a little bit. And we're gonna have to test the hardtop to make sure it still fits. Now I'm sure you're probably wondering what's actually in this box that I was teasing to you guys. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I will say this. The only real safety equipment I have in this Miata right now is the roll bar with the X-brace in it. Being that I want to be more competitive and push the limits of this car, it also pushes the boundaries of how safe this vehicle is in its current state. Now, I've had a couple of big hits from the side, and there's been some instances where I've kind of went into the wall. I want to make this car safer than it currently is to protect myself and if I have any riders or passengers with me on ride-alongs. So that being said, we'll kind of leave it at that for right now, and I'll get to that box a little bit later. Just wanted to give you a little bit of details behind that. I just realized when taking the bolts out, I don't need to put any plates on the inside or weld any new strength plates in it. They got really big sandwich plates that go on the backside. It's plenty of surface area to hold that. We can just slap it right back in, drill a couple new holes in the backside anyways, utilize the front holes. This is gonna be way quicker than I thought. All of the bolts are out. Should be able to just lift this thing straight out. Hopefully we won't have any issues. Got some wiring stuff that's kind of in the way, but I think we'll be fine. Awkward lift to get this out. There we go. Yeah. It's been 3 years having that roll bar in here. It looks so just strange and bare. Yeah. Well, now we can get to the fun part and start cutting some of this stuff out of here. We're gonna save all this material too and get a total weight that we take out from these chunks, and we'll add it to last year's weight reduction total, which was like 142 or 145 pounds. If you haven't watched those weight reduction videos, I'll link them up here. We cut a bunch of weight out of the car, took all the interior pieces out, and saved a ton of weight. And there's that one box. That was actually pretty easy and took a ton of material out of there. Now we just gotta get this little ledge cut out of here so that the roll bar can actually slide back on that. All right, so I just set the camera down and I just went to town on this. I cut out that big block right there. Everything else that was just remaining back here, you can kind of see where the gray is now exposed. I'll probably just hit that with some black at some point here. Not just yet, we'll clean it up first. Kind of just lightly prep it, just so it's not like weird paint. Also got this block out, sanded this all down so it's nice and flat, so that notch down here can sit on this real good. I might have to spot weld it a little bit because this is where these two pieces were like secured together. So I'm just gonna throw a couple little tacks here real quick. Same over there, so it's not gonna like split apart. Although it is stitch welded or spot welded all the way on this pinch weld right here, so it should be fine, but I'll just throw a couple of tacks just to be safe. It is now the next day. I brought my weld hood home. We're gonna weld those pinch welds like I mentioned before, and then we're going to cut the front plates off of the roll bar. Then we can get those front plates bolted back in place and test fit where the roll bar has to be moved back into position. Then we can tack it back to those tabs. We'll test fit the hard top, make sure it clears and it doesn't hit the roll bar. Then we can weld those out and then move on to re-drilling fresh holes in the backside, and then hopefully get this all finalized and finished out in just a little bit of time. We'll get the seat mounted back in and hopefully play with positioning a little bit so that I'm a little bit more reclined in the seat and not so uncomfortable and stiff. Make sure we got this in here today just in case, you never know. That's some really thin material. Gotta turn that down a bit. Anybody else do like a mid-project cleanup? Especially after grinding something? Or is it just me? I don't know. I don't like sliding around on grinding dust, especially on a polished concrete. Now we can get these front plates bolted back in here, and then we can set the roll bar in, slide it back, tack it onto the tabs real quick, and then we'll test fit that hardtop back in here. Now you guys can see, got those things bolted back in there. Lines up with where the paint line was. Same thing over here. I ended up hitting it with a hammer back here, trying to break off this tab, and I dented this front plate. So this is in the right position. There's a big gap in here now, which is fine. Alright, so I just have this resting on that because I want to see how this fits. Hopefully I don't bump it. Moves. It's different with the knuckles are open. Did I get it? Yes. Does it fit? And did it stay in position? Ooh, that's close. We got maybe 1/4 of an inch of wiggle room. It's so tight in here I can't see it. Clears on the sides. I think that's good. That moved it back a good amount. I think I'm happy with that. I think we'll just a little right there. There's gonna be a gap to weld too. It'll be fine. I'll make it work. I got material to shove in there too if I need to. As long as I can get it tacked, I can weld it outside of the car. I think we're good there. I like that. I like how tight that is on that. I think I'll tack it where it is. And then I should move it over a little too. There we go. Yeah, I think we're good. This should work. I'll show you guys. All right, so at the beginning of the video, I showed you guys that I could fit my whole hand up inside there. Now you can't. We got maybe 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch of wiggle room in there, which is perfect. It's exactly what I want. You know what? I didn't latch those. I should latch them and make sure it's pulled all the way forward so it's not too tight in there. I don't want it rubbing and squeaking. I didn't move it all. I think we're good. I moved a little bit. I think we're good. Really hard to tell. There's like no gap. I think we're good. We're gonna send it. Alright, that side is tacked. Hopefully it didn't move on this side. It's tight in here. Good. All right, I think that should be good. 4 good tacks on both sides. We'll get this hardtop off, pull the roll bar out, weld it outside of the car, then set it back in here so we're not throwing too many sparks inside the car. So the setting I had it on was actually like spot on what I need, especially for welding like an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch gap on that side. So we're gonna keep the setting where it's at. And, get this thing burned down real quick. Yeah, that'll work. It's not super pretty because I'm welding over tacks, but it's gonna hold. This side is way bigger of a gap. We'll get that polished up. Looking real good. We gotta let it cool down before we can get it back in there. Otherwise, that hot material is just gonna burn all the paint off that's inside the car. Got this thing set back in here after welding. I'll take my yellow marker and drop it somewhere into the abyss of the trunk. And then, after that, we'll mark out where these holes are, try and get the center, and drill fresh holes so we can get this thing final mounted in here, and then move on to getting the seat back in. I'm excited to be able to play with the positioning of the seat so that I'm sitting in here comfortable. That's gonna make a huge difference in driving this year if you can be comfortable and not have an aching back when you're driving around corners. So yeah, we'll get these center punched, drill them out, and keep on moving. All right, drill a hole, 6 of them to be exact, without hitting this harness. I'll have to vacuum out the shavings again. That's all right. Awesome. Super thin, easy to drill through. Now we get this vacuumed up real quick and bolt it all the way in. I have the roll bar final mounted in place. It's all bolted down, tightened down and everything. I threw the seat base and bolted that in here. Now I'm just kind of playing with like fitment and the seating position. And right now, none of the bolt holes line up with where the seat mount hole is, or like the threads in the seat. But I do have it sitting lower and farther back now to where it's actually pretty comfortable to sit in. But I think I need to pull the seat base back out. And because I have these side mounts welded to the base plate, I think I'm gonna have to cut them off of the base plate so that I can line up the holes where I need them. So it's gonna be a little bit more work trying to fine tune the seating position, but you know, at the end of the day, if I can get this set up to where I'm comfortable in the car, that's what we're shooting for. So it's gonna be a little bit more work to get there, but it's coming along pretty good. We're almost done with this project, just a little bit left to do, and we should be all squared away. All right, so I was able to kind of wiggle the seat around and it dropped into position where it needed to. It still was a little bit tight and kind of hanging up, getting it down into position. I just have these side bolts loose, but it's way better than it was before. And I forgot that I had it lifted up in the back. I was like 4 inches underneath the rear tires, so I was leaning forward, so it was throwing off how it was feeling. Now that I have it set in here, moving the roll bar 1 inch back, relaxed the back of the seat, just going in the same bolt holes, and it was able to tip back enough my back is already kind of sore just from the labor type job I have. And I sat down in this position, and like my lower back doesn't hurt the same as it was. I'm no back expert, but I think that means it's at least comfortable or more comfortable if it's able to relieve your back pain just sitting in position. So I think we're good. I think that's a win. So I'll probably get these snugged up a little bit. We're not gonna tighten them all the way down because we got something coming up. Now, if I move you guys closer to actual like sitting level, you can see the seat is actually leaning back a little bit. I'm holding you guys straight 90 degree to the floor of the car. So, I mean, it wasn't like that before. This thing was like straight up and down. I should have done a before and after clip showing that, but now it's actually like sitting relaxed how it's supposed to, so that you don't have to like roll yourself down into the seat to give your back like a rolled position in the seat. Now I think we're all set up to where that's mounted in. It's just snug right now because I'm gonna have to take that seat back out for the next video's project. I'll show you guys what we're working with in just a second. So I'm gonna end out the video here. We're gonna open up that box in just a second, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, it's time to check out what's inside this box. I haven't seen it yet, but it's something good. I didn't have a pry bar or anything to be able to get these nails out, so I had to go to the store and grab something. It's got quite a few nails in here because it had to travel quite a ways. Ooh, that's gonna be cool.